Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Chris Legaspi, and today we're going to start a series of head drawing exercises. And these exercises are designed to help you improve your skills in head drawing. And I'm going to cover as many exercises as I can to cover all the various aspects of head drawing, gesture, planes, features, anatomy, looking up, looking down. Head drawing is such a massive topic. So obviously the only way to get better at anything is to practice, practice, practice. And of course, having focused exercises is a really good way to, to make your practice more productive and to learn a very complex and difficult skill like realistic head drawing. And before we begin, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my free Insiders Club. Insiders Club members get first access to these weekly live streams, and you also get access to other live events, and you get discounts on courses and programs, along with access to free lessons and other free content available only to subscribers. So all you have to do is go to www.drawwithchris.com, and there you can enter your email and you'll be good to go. So this series of exercises are very beginner friendly. So the first skill or the first goal for this lesson is to learn planes of the head. It can be complex if you're new to the concept. So we're going to go very slow. I'm not going to go into detail on exactly the mechanics of drawing planes. I'm just going to share with you and demonstrate these exercises. These exercises are going to go from the most simple to a little bit more complex. So they're going to build up in difficulty as we go. So let's begin. And before we begin, if you're watching live or on replay, I really appreciate you being here. Let me know where you are located. What time is it for you? Comment below. I am currently in Thailand, actually, and it's 8 in the evening for me. We're going to begin with the warm-up exercise, and this is warm-up exercise, what I call, we're going to sketch a simplified planar head. I also call it a shovel head. And this diagram here is from a book called How to Draw the Marvel Way, one of my favorite drawing books, actually. And it's a little bit more than we're going to sketch today, but I just wanted to show you what a very simple planar model looks like. So let's start with our warm-up exercise here. So first, I'm just going to quickly draw or briefly show you the process of drawing the shovel head or the simplified planar model. It's basically a sphere, which represents your cranium, and then you can kind of go in with a blocky jaw, and then do your first planar. This is front view. First planar head, and then in side view, same thing. It's more easy to see in side view. It's kind of sketch a loose sphere, loose ball, and then kind of drop this sort of triangular shape. This is in side view, so obviously it represents your skull, the top of your head, the big part of your head, and then your face and your jaw. And then kind of do the cut, which would be your plane. So that's in side view. And then we'll quickly show you 3/4. Just a quick little shovel head. So just sketch a sphere, and from the sphere, move downwards to represent the front of your face and the jaw. A nice straight line for the bottom of your chin, bottom of your jaw, or a jaw. It doesn't have to be your jaw in particular. And then kind of follow the rhythm of the sphere down to a corner. Just find a corner. This is where the corner of your jaw would be, or a jaw. And then just, again, trace the rhythm back up and then back down. So this is really the essence of the most simplified planar model, because really all it has is, if you cut off the hairline, all it really has is a top, front, side, and bottom, which you can't see in this case. So that's how you sketch what I call the shovel head or the simplified planar head. So let's begin. I'm just going to sketch, and warm up. Try to talk through this. I did get to draw today. Comment below if you've already done some sketching today or drawing today or filled your sketchbook page. That's a great way to start your day. Me, I normally draw as soon as I wake up, actually. Today I got to draw a little bit. And let me know comment below. What did you sketch today? What did you draw today? Those who are watching live on replay. I'm going to try to draw. We'll start with some easy ones, like a front view. I'll start with another front view, maybe a front view slightly looking down. Nice little shovel head there looking down. Maybe I'll do another side view, but slightly looking up. Or it's more than slightly side view looking up. Do a 3/4, but how about 3/4 away? You know what I mean? Where you see more of the back of the head. What does that look like? Well, I would say it looks more like that. Can't really see the face in this case. If I were to draw the ear, it would be right there. But yeah, we're just doing some warm-ups. I'm gonna do one. I do a couple more. Let's do the hard ones, guys. Once you get warmed up and do a page or fill half a page with the easier ones, start to do some tricky ones like maybe looking up. This one's looking up, shovel head looking up. Don't forget to cut for the plane and do a nice straight for the jaw. And that's really it right there. That's a severe looking up. If I were to draw the nose, it would be there. Let's do a severe or dramatic looking down. Might be a nice one to do. And maybe another head looking away. Side view, but more looking away. That would be the ear. You don't have to draw the ear in this case. Just to get used to the idea, really, just to warm up the idea of sphere and boxy thing at the bottom, which is your jawbone. So cranium, skull, jaw, face, sort of. But if you're new, if you're brand new, don't worry about it. Just think of this little shovel shape, simplified planar model, and we'll explore the Loomis model, which in Loomis's drawings as we go, and you'll be able to get more sophisticated in your planar drawing. Okay, so that's it for the warm-up. Okay, exercise number 2 is we're going to do a planar focus tracing after some master artists. And tracing basically means just if you're working traditionally, take a piece of tracing paper, which is basically transparent paper, and put it over your, over your master work. Some of the masters I recommend are John Sargent, which you see on your screen now. Dean Cornwell we'll look at, as well. Lion Decker's great American illustrator. Rockwell as well. Any of the great American illustrators. Loomis has some beautiful drawings. I also enjoy studying the planes of a Russian artist. Ilya Repin comes to mind. He's one of my favorite Russian artists. They are very focused on anatomy, and they do lots of beautiful, they make their planes very clear and visible, which is great. Same with Sargent, which you see on screen. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take my Sargent here and just start to do my first tracing. And I'll kind of explain what I'm looking for. Now, when we look at, let's look at the left here, we can see that there's clearly clear light and shadow, right? We can see the face and light, clear face and shadow. If we look at the shadow shape, we can see that that really is the side plane. That's what we want. That's the goal. And this shadow shape, Sargent, defined the planes or the form of the face using the shadow shapes. That's what you're looking for. You see on the top here, you have light. On the side is the shadow. So that definition in this case is the plane. And I'll show you more ways to look for it. I'm also going to look for the eye socket is another major plane under the chin, right? Remember what we just drew the shovel head, so the bottom of the chin is one. And then I'm also going to look for the plane of the nose. The nose is a very important structure, and it has a very boxy feature, especially you'll see as we go along how you can start to use the planes of the nose to not only help you draw noses, but actually help you draw the whole face with more accuracy. And that's our goal, right? We want to become better at head drawing. So the first step is I always say start with what's obvious. So the obvious plane is this shadow marking the great Sergeant drew is the side plane. Now, can we see it on the other side? Yes, we can. It's also here. You see on the right, the model's left cheek. There it is right there. There's that nice straight box, remember, underneath. So that's a nice plane definition. What else is very obvious? Well, the clear brow structure is very obvious. If we follow from one brow to the other, we get the top of the brow. Now there's a slight corner. Now I know it looks rounded here, which it is. Human beings are round, but artistically and structurally, and when we begin to draw things, we want to start to employ straights and corners. It does help us to measure and become a little bit more accurate when we begin our drawing. So that is the corner of that brow structure. It's a bone and some skin and things like that. But it is one of the more important planes, the eye socket. And then we can go across. And when I go across, I go from the corner where the brow ends. In this case, it's a clear light and shadow. Clearly, you see that clear light and shadow definition there. So I'm going to go from that corner across, and I'm going to cut through the eyes, all the way through the eyes, all the way through the eyes, through the corner of the eye, through the tear duct, the other tear duct, and the other corner of the eye. And then that'll lead me to the other side, which will give me the other end of that plane, and then the side plane of the head, and the cheek plane. So that's obvious. What else? While I'm on this side, I'm going to trace or indicate that side plane of the cheek. And let's do that on this side too, side plane of the cheek. Now the corner of his jaw is a little bit in shadow, but we have some clues. We can follow the sideburn hair is pointing us down. And then this corner is obvious. So we're just going to follow it back. We can see a little bit of shadow. You guys see that? A little bit of shadow. That's going to help us to follow that line, which is the bottom of that plane. So we're in pretty good shape, right? And we can see that. Let's follow the top of his head real quick. I just want to mark that down. And actually his hairline marks where the front plane and the top plane meet. That's the border, the front plane meaning your face, top plane meaning the top of your head. Obviously, that's obviously not flat, it's curved, but we can use the hairline as a marker. Now, one more plane that's semi-obvious here is the side plane of the forehead. So this plane is a little bit tricky to see. But fortunately Sargent put some nice shadow there. So notice there's like some squigglies of shadow. Well, if you just simplify these squigglies and just cut straight through, there's a little area right here, that corner of the hair. That's a nice marker to show, okay, that's where the continuation of the plane. So I'm just gonna go from this corner to that corner. I'm gonna cut through the shadow. I'm gonna ignore the squigglies, the little wobbles of that's calligraphy really. That's his brushwork. So we want to ignore that for now and just think of it as a plane. And we could actually follow this all the way around to give us that shovel head. Now I know I can't see the back of his head, but I'm just going to kind of use the ear as a clue, then follow that curve all the way around, and then come back down and follow through the ear and down curve to the jaw. And that'll give me that side plane of the shovel head. The ear is not necessary for this exercise, but you'll notice that the ear also, is a plane. So I'm just gonna, the ear flows rhythmically from the ear to the side plane. You see that all the way to the chin. So that's great. We want to keep that in mind because that's going to be a clue. That's good. It's a clue to help us find a plane if things are covered with anatomy. So we got the major planes now. Go ahead and connect this guy here. Now we need the plane of the nose. That's the last major plane we need. And again, it's real obvious. Let's start with the underplane, the bottom plane of the nose. If the nose is a box, I'll just quickly draw it here. You may have seen this before. Even if you're new to drawing, you may have seen diagrams or other artists draw noses like this. If we think of the nose as a box, the underplane is basically where your nostrils are. In this case, there's lots of beautiful shadow here. That's why I chose this reference, because it has really clear light and shadow definition. So the nostrils, that's the underplane there. It's a box. So we need a side plane and a top plane. So to me, the top plane here is clearly marked by this big, beautiful highlight. Notice how wide this highlight is. So that's not an accident. Let's use that. That's why we want to study the masters, because they teach us how they problem solve planes. And then we can go from the side plane of the nostril all the way up, and it typically meets at the tear duct. In this case, it's in deep shadow, so we can't see it, but that's okay. And then we can just follow that little bit of space, between the eyes and the nose, and that's called the keystone. That's basically that little square-shaped thing. And that's really it. I mean, there's more secondary planes, but as far as a beginner understanding of the major planes, this is a really good tracing. This is a great example by Sargent to learn from. And one thing I forgot to mention is that one of the reasons why we want to do tracings of the masters is we want to obviously develop the ability to see the planes and recognize, oh, there's a plane. And the great masters, they often give us really obvious clues. Well, they're obvious once you practice, obviously, and you can review this lesson as well. But things like shadow, things like the corner of their eyebrows, the underplanes of their nose, the shadow of the nose, all of these things are clues to help us recognize planes. So the masters, or any great artist will do this in their work. It also helps you to start to understand how to describe planes on your own by copying how masters did it. In this case, another Sargent here used coarse shadow to describe his plane, and that's exactly like the previous example. So let's do another tracing after Sargent here, a female head in front view. So let's look for what's obvious. So what's obvious is that beautiful plane, coarse shadow, giving us the side plane definition. Before I go to the other side in light, let's look what else is obvious. Well, clearly the side plane of the forehead is a little bit obvious. Now there's some soft shadow here, but if we just follow that corner of the eyebrow up, there's dark shadow here. You see that? It gets a little bit lighter, and then in light, he rounded that forehead, which is correct. It is a round forehead. But that corner of the eyebrow gives us a nice clear plane definition. So we can follow the brow hair, right? And remember, cutting through the eyes will give us, boom, will give us the socket plane that we want. The nose has an obvious, that is the side plane of the nose. This cast shadow is a nice clue as to the side plane of the nose. The underplane of the nose, and then the little bit of shadow there under the nose is helping me to find the underplane of the box of the nose. The eyebrows are nice and dark and clearly defined. That'll give me upper brow and then corner right there. Just follow the hair. So now you might be wondering, all right, Chris, where is the side plane in light? This is what gets me. I'm new to head drawing. I'm new to planes. What do I do here, Chris? Help me. Okay, well, we have to look for clues. And the most important clues, obvious clues, are generally highlights, subtle value changes, and subtle drawing accents in a painting or a drawing. In this case, we really don't have any highlights, but what I do see is a subtle value change. You see this stroke, this brush stroke right here? There's a beautiful brush stroke, shoop, and then that will go from the top, and then it goes top of the cheek, and then boom, down. So that brush stroke is no accident. That is a clueist. He's saying, all right, this is the top plane of this cheek, and this is the side plane of the cheek, which is the side plane of your head. So let's use that as a little clue. Also, we have a corner. Notice that little square bottom of the jaw, right there. And then it changes direction and goes up. So that corner is where we want to flow or point or describe as the corner of the front plane and side plane. And if we look at the right, we can see that it's fairly close to what we have on the shadow side. So I feel confident that we're fairly close. It doesn't have to be super accurate. Now we need the corner of we need to find the plane, the plane where the side plane of the forehead and the front plane of the forehead, another important plane. So for me, what I see again is a little touch of value change. So you see all this calligraphy happening here, these brush strokes, a light one, sort of this pinky one, and then it's more this orange flesh tone. So where that is, to me, that is where he's saying, okay, plane change. Also the corner of the brow is sharp, it has a nice corner. So that we can just follow straight up. And remember, hairline is the clue as to where the front plane is. And then now we can just follow this around down to the jaw and then flow to the chin. And then notice I'm imagining the skull. I'm looking through the hair. So that's a whole other important skill to learn, something to practice. Basically, you know your hair is obviously going to be thicker than, your hair is going to be taller or thicker than your head. So the actual skull, that's what we want, is the skull, the structure underneath. And I'm just going to flow with that curve, follow the curve of that side plane. And then when I get to the jaw, I can't see the jaw, it's in shadow, but I'm just going to guess and estimate based on the opposite jaw, right? So it's going to be roughly here, and I'm going to take that flow to the corner. So we're good there. We got the major planes, really front and the two sides. Now let's finish the nose. So I'm going to follow the keystone shape there. Now the side plane of the nose, remember the tear duct is a good marker for it. It's a good landmark. So I'm just going to flow there. The side plane of the nose to the side of the nostril. That's a nice general marker. Now the top plane is not as clear. but there's a little bit of calligraphy, meaning a brush stroke right here. It's also a little bit of highlight. So that highlight is clearly in the front or the top plane. So I'm just going to go a little bit to the left of that highlight. And that is pretty much it. It's my planar tracing after this sergeant. Okay, one more master's tracing. This is a drawing by Ilya Repin, R-E-P-I-N, Ilya Repin. And beautiful side view. So really important to practice side view as well, not just front and 3/4. This is, it's 3/4, but mostly side 3/4. But anyway, let's look for what's obvious. So we have the plane, right? That shadow, remember the shadow showing us where the top plane begins and the side plane ends, or side, the border of the front plane and the side plane, or top and side, top and bottom. And then that corner where that shadow ends, I'm going to find the corner of the jaw, or the chin, excuse me. That would just go boop right there. Let me continue with the jaw real quick. Jawline, follow that. That's the side plane of the face. What else is obvious? Okay, let's cut through the eyes. And even here, the eyes, that little bit where that shadow ends, that's a plain definition, and it's a rhythm. The brow, obvious. Down. Keystone, obvious. The nose. You guys see that little bit of light happening? Light and shadow happening on the nose. Right there. Underplane. So I'm just going to simplify the corner of the ball of the nose as it goes down to where the nose touches your face. Then go all the way to the corner of the nostril where the nostril touches your face. Then I'm going to flow that up towards the tear duct, and boom, I got the box plane of my nose. In this case, I can't see this other side plane, so I'm just going to use a straight to cut through that. Hairline. Now we got to find this rhythm, right? This corner, then lead up around to the jaw. Well, there's not much there, but there's a little bit of shadow here. You guys see that? That tells me, okay, that's clearly where he wants the plane to be, but I know based on my experience what's happening here. This piece of anatomy here, and then there's another subtle plane, and then what's happening up here is structurally it's bone and muscle there. So I know based on experience that I'm going to follow the corner of the brow, in this case the hair. I'm just going to follow that up. There's a little bit of a clue right there, that little corner of hair. I believe that was intentional to help lead the eye. That's what the great masters do, and that's what we can learn by studying their planes. And then we follow up around. I'm just going to kind of guess where the back of the head is. It's not at the hair. So she's wearing a hair and a little ribbon, a little bonnet thing, some fabric on her head. So for sure, it's not all the way here. So I'm just going to kind of guess, make my best estimation as to where the back of the head is, the skull, and then follow that around, and then follow this rhythm, and then close that rhythm, or close that. It's the top plane of your head. So really, that's all we have. And you can simplify it even more. And just bring that corner of the eye socket plane down. It's a real nice simplified planar tracing after Ilya Repin. Okay, we did our warm-ups. We did tracings after the masters, Sargent, Repin, Leyendecker, Cornwells. Now we're going to step up one level of difficulty and do some tracings after real people, some photography. Now, what I would advise when you're finding, well, at first, again, if you're new and you're brand new to figure drawing, head drawing, you want to pick what's called idealized idealized people, idealized male and female. Idealized basically means, um, in 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 short, someone who's like got that beautiful ideal. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. They're attractive, chiseled features, handsome men, model-looking men, basically, model-looking men, model-looking females. You know, chiseled, attractive, kind of superheroes, models. That's why in these references I chose from Hollywood actors and characters, because they're idealized. That's the reason why they're in movies, is because they're idealized. But that's what you want. And the reason why you want to do that is because the idealized male and female will help us to draw everybody else. Once you know, you want to start with the idealized heads, idealized proportions, idealized planes, idealized angles and features. Once you can draw the idealized version, then you could easily create variations and draw uh, or study or do planar drawings of whoever. So we want to begin with idealized male and female heads. And the goal of this exercise is really to develop observation skills of landmarks. You know, when we do tracings of the masters, we can kind of see, oh, okay, the masters use shadow to describe a plane. The masters used corners of the eyebrow to describe a plane. Oh, the masters used subtle value shifts and subtle brush strokes, subtle accents, subtle marks to help us show where planes are, how to follow planes. So in photography, we don't have the luxury. So we're gonna have to we're gonna have to use some of our observation skills and develop these skills. And I'll talk about what I'm looking at as we go through. But mainly what we want is start to understand that planes really are a artist way to simplify and describe complex anatomy. That's really what we want. We want to look for the bone, the skull. Obviously, skull. If you're new, you probably haven't drawn a lot of skulls or don't know the skull that well. So that's something that we need to start to see and recognize when we look at a human being. When we look at when we're drawing a portraits, we're looking at our models. We go, okay, that's the cheekbone, that's the brow bone, that's the nasal bone, right? That's a bone, that's a piece of fat. You know, as you develop your experience in drawing, obviously anatomy is helpful, but the observation skills is also great to develop, and this is a great way to do that. Okay, let's begin with idealized male in front view, and who's more idealized than Captain America here? You know, he's a living Leyendecker man. this photo is basically a Loomis man or a Leyendecker man come to life. Leyendecker is another famous American illustrator known for drawing idealized, ultra handsome men. So, idealized male, front view. What are some clues? Well, do we have shadow? Do we have light? Right? Remember the sergeants and the reppin use shadow and light and shadow and value change to give us planes. Well, this picture, this is why I picked this picture, by the way. It has excellent light and shadow already in the photo. It's giving us some beautiful, beautiful clues. Obviously, let's start with what's obvious. And the most obvious plane, most obvious clue is that beautiful light shape on the side. So let's get started with that. Look at that. Clear, 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 plane definition. So idealized male with beautiful lighting will help us to easily see the planes, and we could clearly see his beautiful chiseled jaw and chin, Captain America, chiseled jaw, easy for us to follow and trace. Great, 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 great tool for learning. Side plane. I'm going to ignore the ear in this exercise. What else is obvious? Well, clear brow definitions. So I'm not quite looking at the brow, right? The brow kind of angles up, the hair. I'm just going to kind of imagine the brow bone, right? We all know there's a brow bone. And if you don't, maybe you're new to drawing, let's take a minute and do this with me. If you're watching at home, do this with me. Go ahead and put your finger on your eyebrow hairs. Take both your fingers, touch your eyebrow hair. Now press down. Press down and then move your finger left to right. You feel that hard ridge? That is your brow bone. That's your eye socket. It's called the occipital bone, I believe. It's a bone in your skull. Anyway, so back to drawing. So that's what we're looking for in our model. Okay, so what else is obvious? Luckily, he has some rim lighting on the left as well. So let's follow that. Beautiful, beautiful corner there. And you see that little bit of rim light catching the side of his mouth. Again, just like on the right side, we follow that down to his jaw. Captain America's clear and chiseled jawline, easy for us to trace. Let's cut through the eyes. This is a near perfect front view. In fact, it is a perfect front view. Just cut right through the eyes. The keystone, the top plane of his nose, clearly obvious. Beautiful lighting and super idealized chiseled male. Let's follow the tear duct down to the corner of the nostril. And then that'll give us beautiful underplane. Gets a little messy there because it's open to a little bit of interpretation, but I think more accurately it would be like this. A little bit of underplane there. Okay. Now the corner of the forehead. Now there's some light. You see that the light is at a different angle than here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of follow what's on the right, and you may or may not see it, but there's a vein here. Actually, I can see a vein. Do you guys see it at home there? If you're watching at home, a little vein, and we all have this vein depending on how serious we are that day. So let's follow that vein. That vein is closer to the side plane that we want. Not specifically marking the vein, but it's closer to matching the symmetry that we want, really. And then let's follow that all the way around. Ignore the ear for this exercise. Hairline. Follow that around on the right side. And then just kind of trace the skull. I'm kind of imagining it to be a little bit under his hair. Obviously, we don't want to trace the hair. We want to look for the skull. And that is my first tracing, a planar tracing of idealized male. Okay, let's do 3/4 idealized female. Now, this one's a little bit more tricky. We don't have as many clues, and we clearly don't have shadow to work with, except for under the jaw, right? And because this idealized female here, our beautiful actress here has idealized features, so we can see the clear, sharp jaw, but not much else, right, in terms of shadow. We have the eyebrow, and it has a clear corner. That's good. The jaw has a clear corner. The chin, clearly sharp, clear corner there. So that's good. That's a clear corner in the chin. That's good. The nose, even though there's no shadow, we can clearly see the corner of the nose, right? And then the middle of the nose, we can't see the opposite side, but we can draw a line through that gives us the bottom of the nose. What else? What if we want to find the side plane like we've been doing with the sergeant and with Captain America there? Well, we have to use not the shadow, but the highlight. So look on our reference here. You guys see that little bit of highlight? Now, highlights appear at corners, actually. They appear where two planes meet. They appear because this part of her cheek is at the right angle and it's close to the angle of the light, and it's producing a highlight because it's a corner, and that corner is actually where the front of your face meets the side of your face. And notice again, value change, just like in the Sargent painting. It's a little bit brighter here, right? And then it's a little bit darker here. Now it's also makeup, but it's also showing us a plane. If the light was different, this would all be in shadow, just like we saw with the Sargent painting. So that is a clue. That highlight is a clue, and I'm going to follow that highlight, and then I'm going to go down, not quite at the corner of her mouth, but just to the outside. There's a little bit of anatomy right here, producing a little bit of shadow. So I'm going to follow that. And then remember we saw that the ear helps us to find that side plane. Now let's look for the side plane of the skull. So we have the ear. Well, before we do the forehead, before we do that, let's go with what's obvious. We clearly have her eyes are clearly visible, so we can just cut right through them. The brow, again, not looking for the hair. I'm going to look at the keystone where the hair begins. I'm going to follow that, and then just sort of kind of follow that, not all the way up to the corner of the brow hair, but I'm going to use that corner and then follow down. That's still your skull. Side plane of her nose, we can trace that easily. And the top plane, not too obvious, but there's a little bit of shadow. There's shadow there. There's a highlight there. There's a highlight there. There's a little bit of value change. It's very subtle. As you draw and get more experience, you'll be able to see these more subtle value changes. But that is what I'm going to go with as my side plane definition. Under plane of the nose, under plane of the ball of the nose. There's a nice little corner there, which is my top plane of the nose. So I got the box of the nose. On the side, we have a nice corner there. Now her cheek is not square like I just drew it. It's round. It's a human being, but I can follow. I'm following both my instincts, knowing where I know the bone. Remember, planes help us find and describe bones, really. And I know also because of where the apex of that curve is. And if you basically how to find a corner in the curve, and I have a whole series on how to find corners and curves and how to look for shapes as well. A whole life series on my YouTube channel. You can check that out. Now let's follow the corner of her forehead. Hairline, obvious. We can follow that down. Now you might be wondering, okay, where is that, Chris? Where is that? I don't see a shadow there. Well, we have a highlight. We have a corner. There's a subtle value change here, right here. It's a little bit of value change, and then, or temperature change in this case, it's the same value. Then it goes from that side to the front. So I'm going to go with that. I'm just going to use a little bit of what I see in terms of value, and then based on instinct, knowing what I know about the skull being there, and then I'm just going to follow that all the way around through her hair, down, follow the jaw. There you go, side plane, and the hairline is the beginning of the top plane. I'm going to finish my top plane analysis right about there. So our fourth exercise is to copy Loomis drawings, Loomis planar drawings. And the reason why you want to do that is you want to, again, develop your skill, observation skill, and you want to develop your planar drawing skills. Now we're actually going to copy someone's process, a great master teacher, master artist, Andrew Loomis. We're going to copy his process. And then that'll also, as we copy, it'll help us to internalize his process. And then we can, as we practice and draw, we can add it to our own. Now, this image here is, I believe, drawn by John Buscema. This is from the book, How to Draw Marvel Way. These are great to copy to How to Draw the Marvel Way. So let's look at some Loomis real quick. Okay, here's our first little Loomis. And I'm just going to do my best to copy the diagram. This is it may seem strange if you're new to drawing and you're like, why would I want to do that? As you do it, you'll understand. You'll start to see like, oh, okay, that's how you connect the eye to the ear. Oh, that's how you connect the brow. That's how you flow from the brow to the nose. That's how you flow from the front of the brow to the corner where it meets that corner. Remember, we were just looking at our female and female head tracing, and we had a little bit of a challenge finding that corner. So once you understand, get used to this process, it'll start to internalize and become automatic. Okay, so that's the side plane of the cheek that we've been finding all night. We know where that is. We know that it must match on this side. Let's draw the underplane of the nose, top plane of the nose, just like Loomis does here. And he's put a little bit of a mark there. And then you can compare your drawing. I know mine needs a little bit more cranium. And then follow this up. And then we can sort of add this secondary drawing. This is how he draws. It's what I call the Loomis head in his Loomis process. It's basically a lot like what we did, the shovel head way back in the beginning. And then follow that line across. So now, it's not the most exciting thing to draw or to watch, I'm sure, but for those of you who are new, this is a great way to start your journey in drawing planes, is to copy the great Loomis or any great teacher. Asaro, obviously, planes of the head. So there's our first Loomis copy. Okay, our second Loomis planar head copy. Now this drawing I actually is in Loomis's Figure Drawing for All It's Worth book. I got this from his figure drawing book, actually. It's a wonderful book. Comment below if you have this book. I don't believe it's in print anymore. His head drawing one is. But it has beautiful planes. It has, some shading and some hair and things. So this can be fun. But again, you can see the clear use of planes. Remember that corner, forehead corner, right? The brow to the keystone. Remember how, I kept emphasizing the importance of the eye socket. Well, I didn't make that up. That is something I learned from the great masters. Side plane of the nose, corner of that cheekbone. In this case, just going to quickly indicate the mouth. That's one of the secondary planes that is important as well. Now, this plane here, right on the eye, the front plane and the side plane of the cheek, front plane, side plane of the mouth structure, the chin and jaw, follow the chin and jaw, up. Can't see the ear, but we can see some hair, little blocky hair. I love how he's drawing this blocky hair. I love looking at these type of drawings. I'm sure you're watching this. You two are a fan of Loomis or artists like Loomis, Leyendecker, Rockwell's, Sargent, perhaps you may have been exposed to, or some Russian academic artist. Or if you like my work, you may recognize so much of this. I use a lot of straights in my work. Um, if you are here because you enjoy my work, you know I use lots and lots of straights. Okay, so I got my little copy there. Obviously, you know, we can add shading. I'm just going to do that quickly, just for fun. Why not? Why not? You know, we've been drawing for a while. If you're following along with me, we've been drawing and sketching and studying for about an hour. We deserve a little bit of shading. Why not? Doing all this line drawing. Okay. And you can also do this with the side of your pencil. That's also great. You don't have, doesn't have to be hatching. It could be the side of your pencil, more of a tonal mark. And that's about it. So um, you don't have to copy. This is not a shading exercise by any means, but we just put it there. Why not? Just for fun. And it does help us to clearly define the planes, which is great. Because remember, one clue that we have to help us to identify a plane is a value change. And there's no more dramatic value change or useful value change than the shadow shape. Okay, I'm going to copy this head up here on the upper right. It's also this similar in the bottom, just for fun, because it's looking down. We want to practice. And again, this is from Andrew Loomis' book, How to Draw Heads and Hands. We want to practice the various angles. Obviously, looking up and looking down is much, much more difficult than any other angle. So I would save those for last as you get warmed up or perhaps as you get more experience. I'm not worried so much about all of his calligraphy, his line work and details. What I want is to copy his planes right now. So front plane of his nose, keystone there. This is just a great way to learn the difficult angles. One of the things that I get asked all the time. It's one of the things that I teach in my courses and programs is drawing the difficult angles, looking up, looking down. And this is one way to do it. This is one way that I learned. I copied that Marvel book. I copied Bern Hogarth a lot. I copied um, when I was growing up. I loved Street Fighter. Comment below if you're a fan of Street Fighter artwork, Street Fighter design artwork. It's a video game. I used to copy the heck out of Street Fighter drawings. So don't underestimate this exercise at all. Um, in fact, you know, if you were to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to go to a proper art school that had realism training, like an art center or something like that, you know, you would be paying thousands of dollars, and then that teacher would also tell you the same thing I'm telling you. Hey, you want to learn a good process, you got to copy a great artist. You want to learn how to problem solve, planes, angles, looking up, looking down, shading. Hey, copy a great artist. So hopefully you can see the value of this. I know I'm going very fast too, by the way. A, because, you know, obviously I have a lot of mileage and experience, but B, also I'm teaching a class and I don't want this class to be 3 hours long. You guys will fall asleep on me if it's too long. So I am going quickly, but take your time, take your time, take your time. and you can review and do draw along with me at home. You can review this video at any time.